Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Business Spotlight, the podcast where we shine a light on the incredible entrepreneurs and business owners in our community. I'm your host, Craig Whipperman with Music City Action Coach, and today we're excited to introduce to you someone who is blazing a trail in the world of coffee right here in Nashville. Our guest today is David Trett, founder of Red Bicycle Coffee. We'll dive into David's background, explore the challenges he's faced, and the successes he has celebrated. Whether you're a fellow entrepreneur, an aspiring business owner, or simply someone who loves to support local businesses, this conversation is sure to inspire and inform. So without further ado, let's welcome David to the podcast. David, how you doing today?
Doing wonderful. Thanks for having me, Craig.
Yes, it's great to have you. So share with the listeners, watchers, where you're at.
Right now, I'm at our Germantown location, our Germantown Red Bicycle location. That's 1200 Fifth Avenue North.
Yeah, awesome. And that's the original location here in Nashville, right?
Yep, it sure is. That's our flagship, our mothership, the OG for all things Red Bicycle.
Yeah, cool. So share with the viewers, a little bit about your background and how Red Bicycle came to be.
Well, my background is definitely not in business. It's a unique background. I played basketball in college. I played basketball overseas, and then I wasn't quite sure what I wanted to do. I'd always played golf my whole life, and I had the opportunity to get into the golf business, moved down to Dallas, and I was in the golf business. I was a golf pro for 7 years down there. Really enjoyed it. I had some wonderful job opportunities down there. I worked for Jerry Jones at the Cowboys Golf Club. He owned that course. And then I moved over to Colonial, which hosts a PGA Tour event in Fort Worth after that. So I had some very cool jobs. But really, I just wanted to kind of do my own thing. And most importantly, which I think a lot of entrepreneurs appreciate, you just don't want a boss. You don't want anybody to tell you what to do, and you want to be responsible for yourself making or breaking it. And I was looking to kind of do my own business, and I didn't really know what I wanted to do. I knew absolutely nothing about coffee whatsoever, but just kind of researching businesses, it was something that it was not a fad. It was time tested, it's proven, it's not going away. Number two commodity in the world behind oil. And so it just seemed like, cool, that's something I could do. And that's just kind of where I got into coffee. I ended up buying an existing coffee shop in Chapel Hill, North Carolina. Had been open for 10 years, and it was called the Red Bicycle. So that's how I got my start. I really wanted to open my own shop first and foremost, but I think this was the best decision buying an existing one because I was able to learn the business, make mistakes with an existing customer base already. They were willing to come back and give me another try, where if you open, you really only get one chance at customers, and they're not coming back if you make some mistakes. But having an existing customer base truly helped me kind of set me up for success from hitting the ground running in that regards.
Yeah, that's pretty awesome. So I didn't realize you played basketball in college, huh?
I did. Yep.
Where at?
Small school called Valley City State in North Dakota.
Oh, wow. Up in North Dakota. Cool.
Yep.
And then we're a golf pro in Dallas.
Yep.
And I heard you say you you worked for Jerry Jones.
Yep.
And then at the Colonial Golf Course, right?
Yep.
Isn't it Ben Hogan's tournament? Wasn't Ben Hogan's tournament? Is that hosted there? Do you know?
It sure is.
Oh, that's
Yeah.
cool.
That was, yeah. It's called it's called the Schwab Classic, I want to say
Yeah,
now.
I
But
think you're
yeah,
right.
that
Yeah.
was Ben Hogan's tournament. That was his home course there, along with Shady Oaks is the other course there in Fort Worth. But yeah, Colonial School, it's got Ben Hogan's office in the golf shop set up as it was from the day he left and retired. So it's a very, very cool course.
Yeah, awesome. And then you came out of the golf world, I guess, looking for something where you didn't have a boss. Did
Yeah,
you you knew that you wanted to own a business, and that was the way to freedom, I guess.
absolutely. I just didn't know what I wanted to do. Like I thought about doing stuff in the golf world, and I was kind of burned out with the golf stuff, and I really enjoyed it. But I really wanted to, honestly, like I wanted to do something where I could get back to like playing golf. When you're in the business, you're not playing that much. You're just working
Hmm.
a lot. And so yeah, I just wanted the freedom of making it on my own. I didn't look at it in any way, shape, or form at like I'm gonna get rich. I just wanted to have enough money to pay my bills and uh, do my own thing.
Yeah.
And so that's how I kind of came across coffee. I knew absolutely nothing about coffee, and when I say nothing, I knew nothing. I didn't know how to make it. I didn't drink coffee. I didn't know what a latte was, a cappuccino. Knew nothing. So that was a good thing because I felt like I didn't have bad habits taught to me on like this is how coffee needs to be made. I was able to just learn from a lot of different people, and there was a lot of people that helped me tremendously in my start for sure. And I think that was very beneficial to me as moving forward. Is I was always willing to try new things because I didn't really know what the right thing to do was per se, or what we should be doing. So just try out stuff, and a lot of things stuck, a lot of things didn't. But yeah, it was a very good learning process in that regards.
Yeah, so it's really interesting. You say the first thing you said was, I'm not really a business. I don't have a business background. I don't think I'm a business person. But and then a lot of small business owners, they will, you know, try plumbing because they're tired of working for the boss and think they have the technical expertise. So they go out with the expertise of being a plumber and never really grow into, or their challenge is growing into being the quote business owner.
Hmm.
And you came at it from a different perspective altogether. But curious, it sounds like you were curious as to how to make things work and how to make things better.
Yeah, definitely was. And that's like I felt like our current business model. I learned that as we were going. I definitely learned that when I bought the first coffee shop, I was like, cool. People are going to be excited. It's new management. We have all these cool new ideas. Nobody cared. I mean, they really truly did. It's not like our customers were excited about it. We weren't getting new customers because of that. And I just kind of figured out like why. Like I was introducing what I thought was like fun, new things, and people really didn't seem to be interested in it. And I figured out that because with coffee, it is so routine and schedule based that people just want the same thing every day, made the same way. They want that consistency, and it's part of their routine, it's part of their schedule. So when you introduce new things, people are kind of hesitant to try it because they're like, you know what? I don't need my morning messed up. I don't need the start to my day. I don't want to be upset. I need to be in a good mood. I need to be happy. So we're not going to try new stuff. We're not going to buck the system here.
Yeah, that's funny. I get stuck in that even when I go out to new restaurants. You try new restaurants, but it's a little risky, to try a new restaurant unless, it's got some decent reviews. Then you can go in and try it. But even, trying a different dish sometimes I think is risky. So human behavior is such a lot of the time, let's not try anything that's outside what we know. And that even applies to coffee, I guess, right?
Exactly. I
Yeah.
agree completely.
Yeah. So the original red bicycle was in North Carolina, right?
That's correct.
And so were you in Texas at the time, or did
I
you?
Yeah, I was actually in Texas. I actually I got out of the golf world, moved to the Minneapolis St. Paul area, One of my best friends, two of my best friends from college lived in that area, and I was familiar with that area. My sister was actually living there also at the same time. She still does. And so I had some familiarity. I felt like that would be a good coffee base, like a good place to start. It wasn't far from home. I'm from South Dakota originally, and I just couldn't get any traction in being able to open up my own shop.
Hmm.
There's just a lot of things that I did not know how to do. I didn't know anything about build outs. I didn't know anything about like a business plan, getting funding, all of these different things that I had no idea about. So then I just was like, I think the best route would be to buy something existing that's already established, already open. And that's how it just came across Red Bicycle. I wasn't looking anywhere, like any location, any region specific. That came about. It was in Chapel Hill. I was like, seems like a cool area. I like college basketball. I'll get to watch some games. So that's that.
Oh, awesome. Okay. Well, I was thinking somehow you were in that Carolina and you were aware that way, but you specifically searched regardless of location to
Hmm.
to acquire a coffee shop.
Exactly.
So, how big was it? How much, what were sales when you bought it and what were sales when you left?
Man, our best day ever was like $1,200 in sales.
Hmm.
We were probably averaging right around the like 700 to $800 range, like pretty consistent, but could never just like have a big day.
Hmm.
And we were just very reliant on the college kids.
Mm.
Where that's where University of North Carolina is. We had these big spikes, like when school's in session, we were nice and busy. Summertime, not nearly as busy. And I was building the business and we were definitely doing fine, but it just wasn't something you could consistently count on as far as a revenue. It's hard to staff for that, and it's hard to,
Mm.
have orders for your cost of goods and all of that stuff. So I just wanted to get to a market that was busier, and Nashville just seemed like a very good market. So I feel like when we left there, we were right. We were consistently right around 1,000 a day, but never anything. Yeah, I truly think $1,200 was our biggest day
Mm.
that we ever had. So it wasn't anything to write home about. It was fine. It essentially did what I wanted it to, just pay
Yeah,
the bills.
and gave you a learning experience, right?
Yeah, big learning experience, and it was a great decision from the learning experience. And I also met Nazi Kajana, who is the owner of Fortuna.
Okay.
Fortuna Fortuna is a coffee roaster, but they're more than a coffee roaster. They are kind of a one-stop solution to everything. They sell paper goods, they sell equipment, they sell syrups, they sell everything. And from a mentorship standpoint, like he became a friend. He's located in Greensboro, North Carolina.
Hmm.
And he was more than happy. And I've tried to take that same approach, honestly, that he did in business. He was like, hey, look, there's like, man, this piece of the pie in the coffee world is massive. You just want a little slice of it. I have a good slice of it. He's like, I'll help you in any way, shape, or form I can. I mean, there would be days where I would drive down to Greensboro just to bounce ideas, and he'd take his time and just sit in his office with me and talk about business and talk about this and that. And even when we moved to Nashville, he came down, helped me set up my espresso machine for the first time, did a lot of stuff. He just helped me immensely. He was a great guy, great mentor, and yeah, I look at him as a great friend too. I mean, he's still a guy to this day that I'll pick up the phone and talk to him about things, and he always answers the call, always help in any way he can.
Yeah, that's awesome, man, to have somebody like that. And someone who is not necessarily, I take it he's not owned any retail coffee shops, but certainly been close enough to the business that he could advise you, right? That's a perfect person to have at your side, you know?
Well, they actually do have I think they have two locations in the Greensboro area, but
Okay.
his main focus is definitely coffee shop solutions. I want to say they service a few hundred coffee shops
Oh,
in
wow.
in regards to roasting coffee, selling paper goods, helping them with floor plans. Like they kind of do everything.
Yeah. Yeah. So a guy with a lot of knowledge
Hmm.
in the space. Yeah. Cool.
And willing to share it. I
Yeah.
mean,
Yeah. Those are
he
great. Those are great folks to have at your side, you know?
absolutely. He's an open book and still is to this day.
Yeah. And so you ended up selling and moving to Nashville. And you were sharing with me the other day that you started in Germantown, right? And that's the
Hmm.
location you're at right now.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And you've grown to ten shops now in the Nashville area.
that's right.
That's pretty phenomenal. And that's over like a 10-year period.
Yeah, we're coming into, let's see, we were here in 2012, so 12 years right now, creeping up
Mhm.
on 13.
Yeah. And so so the red bicycle in North Carolina uh depended upon the college crowd, the college
Hmm.
community. And then it's a little bit different here now. I'm sure there's not as it doesn't move with the flow of a college schedule. It's probably a little bit more evened out throughout the year. Of course, I'm not exactly sure, but I would imagine coffee shops
Definitely.
do well year round. True.
Yeah, it definitely is. And from my experience here, our coffee seasons and busy time is flipped completely from what it was in North Carolina.
Hmm.
Um, the warmer months, the summer months are our busiest times. When you get into starting to get into November through February, those are our slower times actually.
Wow.
And part of it is I think, weather-wise, people aren't out and about quite as much, and pretty much all of our locations are in like except for a couple are in kind of foot traffic areas. So we're relying on people being out of their vehicles, moving around, stopping in. And then
Mhm.
number two would be partially the tourist season. Tourist season is definitely heavy here in the summer months. So there's a lot more people in town. There's more events. There's just more things going on, from concerts to shows to sporting events, all sorts of different stuff going on in this kind of in the summer months. So that's our busy time.
Right, right. Yeah, and with a lot of tourists coming to town, I guess in the summer months, that too probably drives a lot of traffic, right?
Yeah, that definitely helps. It's definitely a traffic builder. Um,
Mhm.
and yeah, and we're busy year round. There's no doubt about it, but there's definitely a spike during those summer months.
Mhm. So tell me about uh I like the name Red Bicycle. It's distinctive, you know?
Yeah.
It's definitely I don't know, catches your attention. Um Tell me about the theme of Red Bicycle, how it compares to, I mean, any Starbucks you walk into anywhere is pretty much the same.
Yep.
And then, you think about the other coffee chains. I mean, one that comes to mind is Just Love Coffee. I mean, they kind of have their distinctive, feel too. What makes Red Bicycle different, or is Red Bicycle different from all of the brands?
Yeah, I think so. I think a big, from multiple different things. I think like aesthetically we're different. We kind of have a feel for each neighborhood that we're in. We're kind of going along with the theme of that neighborhood. I think that when we open up a shop, we're looking, at the space and how we can maximize, our feel. Like in Murfreesboro, for example, that's a 100-year-old building. We're right on the square right there. It's all exposed brick. So we have this cool feel where we have like a bunch of leather button back couches, and the lighting is all like tea lights there, and we really try to make it this kind of vintage type feel when you go in there. So aesthetically, we don't take a cookie cutter approach. It's really more we're just fitting to the space and the natural light we have, all that good stuff. And then business wise, I really think what I learned was that having a unique options from a food perspective will definitely set you apart. It kind of goes back to talking about coffee is part of everyone's schedule, everyone's routine. If you're not the first coffee shop in a neighborhood, people aren't quite as excited that you're opening. If you're the first one, everybody wants a coffee shop. That is like first and foremost to everyone's neighborhood they move to. Is there a coffee shop? Where's that? Where's our local shop? So if you're the first ones in, awesome. If you're not, you need something to break up that schedule and routine of other people. And a lot of the times, even if you are the first one, people have their schedule and routine with coffee. Like they're going to the coffee shop that's right by their work, or they're making coffee at home. So what are you going to do to get them to walk through the door? And the food side is what I think helped us break down that barrier. You look at from the perspective, if a new restaurant opens up, generally they're kind of excited to go try out a new restaurant and they're willing to give it a try. So we have that same concept. We have a big food side. We want people to walk through the door, try out what we do. We do crepes, which is unique and not a lot of other places do that. So that's something unique. People come in, they have a good experience, and then we want them to be a coffee customer 5 days a week. And that's the goal, is get them through the door, give them a great experience. And then from a food perspective, we're going to transition them to a coffee customer.
Awesome. So it's very interesting from a business perspective. You would think, as you described it, yeah, you want to tailor to the neighborhood, and even go so far as not only the venue that you're in, but the menu items, and the type of food that you would serve, targeting that. But from a from a pure operational and efficiency standpoint, if Starbucks, you go to a Starbucks, it's almost cookie cutter, isn't it? I mean, the
Yeah,
menu items are pretty
definitely.
much the same, right?
Yeah, you're not going to find any variations on their menu.
Yeah,
Everything's going to be the same exactly across the board.
right. And so, what challenges does that place on you? And so, describe do you own all 10 of the locations here in Nashville?
I do not. I own the company. I own the Germantown location still, and I own our Vanderbilt locations. And then we have a roasting company in Murfreesboro that I own that supplies all the coffee to everyone. All the other locations are, some of them I owned at one point,
Mm-hmm.
as we were growing. And when I got to 4 stores that I owned, that's when I really got to be stretched thin in what I was doing. And I needed to kind of do something different. I felt like I was doing a good job, but a lot of things were slipping through the cracks at that point. And I kind of felt like if I continued this way, we were just going to be average across the board instead of every store getting that, attention that it needed. And
Mm-hmm.
so I wanted to, I thought about the franchise model. In the franchise model, I'm just not a huge fan of. Like, there's some great things about it where it brings consistency to your business. You know what you're going to get when you go into every store. Everything's going to be made exactly the same way. And that's a huge thing to have, right? I mean,
Mm-hmm.
I will go to McDonald's because I'm getting double quarter pounder with cheese every time. I know exactly what it's going to be. But still wanted to give the opportunity to have other people come into the business, help grow us. So instead of going the franchise model, went a licensing model. So the other owners license the red bicycle name, our intellectual property, and then they have the freedoms within a licensing model to make changes in the stores. So if a menu item isn't performing as well at one location as the other, they can kick it off and they can kind of, let the customers dictate what the feedback they're getting from the customers that they want. They can introduce new items that will be more successful in their location versus other locations. So I think it really helped new owners, instead of them feeling maybe like glorified GMs, they're truly owners of their shops. Like, they get a blueprint and they get a lot of a head start on a lot of things, but once they take over, they have a lot of freedom and they can make a lot of decisions, and they're the ones that make or break their shops. And our owners do a wonderful job, honestly, with it. I'm very, very happy with the owners, and I'm very thankful for the jobs that they do in our stores. That has definitely allowed us to grow, and I think be very consistent across the board in all of our stores, with still giving this unique flair that every shop has. There's menu items in every shop where you go to them. There's our core items are the same, but there's going to be some unique, cool things that each shop does that others don't.
Yeah. So the licensing arrangement, does that provide for you to be paid some royalty, or is it just a flat licensing fee that they have to pay?
Yeah, there's a small royalties monthly that goes with their license agreement, and yeah, it's just a small number, and then they're rocking and rolling from that.
Yeah. So and then finding people to or finding, experienced business managers, business owners to assume the license. That's pretty important, I would imagine, right? Finding the right people to sell to work with, to help grow your.
Yeah, that's a big deal, and it's hard. It's you know, I think all of our current owners are great. I truly are, and we've had some owners come and leave within the company, and it's very hard to judge a person's. They can have the knowledge, they can have a business background, and then sometimes it just doesn't work out from what we're trying to do. And then you can have people come in that don't have a business background, and they're phenomenal owners.
Mhm.
They're great. It's really, you can have all these systems in place and from a vetting perspective, and it's really not until they get in there and get going until you really see kind of what they're made of and what they're going to bring to the table and how they're going to be for the future.
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
it's hard. I feel like I've done a good job overall with finding owners, but I've definitely struck out. It's a learning process for me, for sure.
Yeah. It's I mean, even hiring employees, you got to
Yeah,
have good systems in place just to hire employees, and that's not 100% foolproof. So finding someone to assume the responsibilities of business ownership and management, I would imagine that's not an easy thing to do. Um,
it is not.
yeah. So, given the freedoms that, and how many owners are there? Are there any that own multiple shops, or is it just one shop per licensee?
Um, there is three other owners. All of them except one owner owns multiple locations. Our newest owner just has one location right now.
Okay. What challenges does the licensing model and the even though the freedom to add and remove menu items is probably a benefit to the owner. What challenges does managing or licensing out your brand provide? What challenges are presented to you as you try to oversee and manage those other licensees?
Well, consistency is
Mm,
definitely a big challenge. And it's not consistency in a bad way where anybody is doing things poorly. It is more like the process is, when you're in a franchise model, everything's very black and white. When you're making your recipes, it's all dialed in. Everything's exactly the same way. So our processes in certain things are different. One location, their A to B is going to be different than another location. And when they get to C, the product is essentially the same. It's just the processes are a little different. Some of the ingredients are a little different. Some people will source certain ingredients, I should say, that are like important to them, where it's not quite as important to another franchise owner. So some of those things are different, and that can affect the consistency overall. Next thing I would say is, just making sure that us and all the owners are generally on the same page with, just like how we're moving forward, things that we're doing. And that's hard. It's, I feel like that's probably, the biggest challenge. I feel sometimes a little stretched thin across the board. And owners also, I think at times they may need help with certain things, but they're like, Dave has this going on, this going on. I'm going to just figure it out on my own. And it's just that, like, everything from a communication perspective, communication. I could be a much better communicator with all of our owners. And a lot of times when I see from the outside looking in, like, hey, everything looks like it's going great over there at so-and-so store. They don't need me. I could be checking in more. I could be doing a lot more things like that. So it's just a lot of different things where if it was a franchise model, we would know exactly like all the marks we're going to be hitting across the board, from numbers to cost of goods to our labor to everything. And it's just different in every store from that regard. So those are probably, the two biggest challenges.
Yeah, I can see that. But I mean, there's certainly advantages. And you touched on some of the support that you would provide, but maybe give some insight to the variation in support that you might give, or what if I were to come on as a licensee, what kind of support could I expect from Dave?
Yeah, and that's another variation, honestly. It is like I will give you as much support as you want or need, or as little as you need. I am hands off in many regards, or I can be as hands on as you want. I mean, if you're brand new and you're starting, going to be pretty heavily involved with you until you feel that you are comfortable where you're at with everything. And then it's more just a checking in situation. If there's current things going on in your shop where you need help with hiring or need help with, trying to get your labor costs or food costs down, absolutely, I'm going to be there and help you out. And that's where sometimes it can be tough. The perception is sometimes a certain location will need, maybe a little more assistance than another. And the perception from within is like, hey, Dave's over here focusing a little bit more time. Maybe I'm not getting that same amount of time. And part of that just comes back to me, with my communication within the ownership. It's like, I feel sometimes like I don't need to communicate that with everybody, but then you look at it and you're like, yeah, if you're feeling that, like, I'm not giving you attention that you deserve as much attention as you want, and I'm not giving some of that, and I'm not communicating that can definitely, cause some internal, rifts, for a better word. But at the end of the day, I think with all of our owners, we do any differences that we've been able to hash them out, talk about it. And I value that relationship with all of our current owners. Like, we truly, you're always going to have those bumps in the road, and you're always going to have a difference of opinion on certain ways we should do things or a direction we should head in. But if we're able to all just sit down and talk it out and figure out a solution, it's very lucky to have that, honestly, in this
Yeah,
world.
no question, and of course, that's probably one of the characteristics you're looking for in someone to assume a license is the ability to, come together and collaborate and admit mistakes and work as a team, take feedback, that type of thing, right?
Yeah, definitely. And I feel like me personally, I'm very laid back overall until it gets to a certain point, and I work well with personalities that are kind of like that, like shoot, like this week, for instance, part of our coffee shipment got delayed. It's not coming in until tomorrow. So our coffee orders that we delivered out to everybody, we have like 85% of it, right? Ready to go. The other 15% is going to come in tomorrow. We'll get it all roasted up and get it out to them by Thursday. But that's just one thing where it's like, hey guys, this is what happened this week. Everyone's like, cool. All right, cool. Laid back. No issues with it. We know everybody knows that it's going to get there to them, but to be able to handle like just little things like that constantly are happening in everyone's business is a big thing.
Mm-hmm.
It's not going to go smooth hardly at all. It feels like if you can go a week without an issue, hey, that's a win.
Yeah. So you kind of opened that door. Share with me if you can recall or recollect maybe a big interesting challenge that you had to overcome in your business since you started. Maybe what's the biggest challenge you've had to overcome? I mean, and of course, COVID is probably tops on everybody's list. I'm sure that kind of affected you guys pretty badly. But is there anything that compares to what you guys may have went through with COVID?
Yeah, I mean, COVID was like its own animal for sure.
Hmm.
That was unique. We went down from, man, shoot, I feel like in our Nashville locations, when COVID hit, that's when we had, let's see, we had four or five. I think that's when we had five locations at that point at the beginning of COVID. And um, one location in Murfreesboro was able to stay fairly well staffed. And then all the rest, I think we had four total employees for everything. And it was just, you know, work every day as long as you can with hardly anybody and, just make enough to pay the bills. So yeah, obviously that was a big challenge. But I really think outside of that, the biggest challenges have been opening new locations, the challenges that you're going to face with a new location, the challenges that you're going to face with, I feel like I'm going to do what is best for the company first and foremost. I will put kind of like my needs and wants second in many ways, and still trying to put the needs and the concerns of all the owners first with making the best business decision is very hard. Like opening a new location that can be possibly like in the same area as another location, and making sure that you're not going to cannibalize business from another location. And it's one thing when you own all the locations. You're like, well, whatever, we're sharing the same piece of pie, right? But when other owners own one location and another is going to open close to it, yeah, those are tough decisions, conversations all the way across the board. And you just, have to try to do what's best for everybody involved and make the best decision at the end of the day. And I feel like that's the biggest challenge as with growth.
Yeah. Tell me then, Dave, where are you intending to take the company? You've got 10 locations here in Nashville. Are you looking to expand even farther in Nashville? And are your future plans to maybe, I don't know, go to different markets in the state or different markets in the region here? What are your ultimate goals and objectives for Red Bicycle?
Yeah, I think as a brand, big term goal, I'd like to be a Southeastern brand that is recognizable, Um, getting to that point is yeah, it's just like we're still trying to figure out how we're going to get to that point. Like I think there's many different ways you can go, right? And one thing that we have talked about within our current ownership group is that everyone's helped us get to the point that we are in. And the hardest thing to do as an owner is open a new store. It's extremely exciting, but it takes a lot of capital and it's very stressful. And you don't, we feel like we have a good brand, but still, you open the doors on day one and still the same thing. You're just hoping people walk through and you're hoping at the end of the day we can pay the bills. And so we've kind of been kicking around an idea with our current owners of forming like a group together and how we would all benefit from the growth of Red Bicycle and how we would go open up new stores and what that would look like. And I really would like a model like that. I think one, everybody that's going to be involved in it, you don't have to worry about them leaving. Like if we're hiring staff for infrastructure as like an area manager, a district manager, all these things, at some point they're going to leave. All these people aren't going to leave. They're vested. They're time tested. They also know everything. They all have that knowledge of what's going on in the stores, how the stores need to operate, how we need to what we need to do to open a store, what we need to do from growth. It's all about getting everybody on the same page with that same vision of what we're going to do, and then we all can benefit from it. And I would love to do that from a perspective of helping the other owners benefit from growth like that, instead of just being like, if you want to grow, you just have to open up new stores yourself, and that's that. I think we could all do something really well together. So that's the plan. It is still, like kind of a work in progress. And right now, like in this climate that we're in, it's almost like a buyer's market to go open up new locations. If you have capital, you can take over existing Gen 2 spaces like very easily. You can buy a lot of different things that for pennies on the dollar, like businesses that are going out, and you could really grow quickly. But is that the best way to go? Are we going to suffer from a consistency standpoint? Are we still going to have the best products that we can offer right now? Are we going to maybe then have a couple losers in that bunch? You don't ever want a loser. We want all winners. We don't want a location that's going to fail. So it's a good time to open up and grow from the perspective that it's going to be a little cheaper, except if you're doing full build outs. Full build outs are very expensive right now.
Mm-hmm.
But there's a lot of different ways you can go to open up new locations. So it's just really getting everybody on the same page, having that plan, and making sure that we can go out and execute it. We have the time to do it. We have the knowledge to do it. But our shops also, at the same point, everybody owns their own shops, and they're very time consuming to each person. So that's really going to be our next step. And I think we could easily go grow and have 5 stores a year for the next few years and really hit the ground running and see what we could do. But I want to do it together with the group of people that we have within us, and it's just figuring that out.
Yeah. Well, having licensees who you trust to run their business is one thing, but you've demonstrated just by what you said that you have a lot more trust in them, because you're looking to take what they're work together as a kind of a an investment group, for lack of a better, or founders of a Red Bicycle in the Southeast, or whatever you want to call it, business partners. So yeah, hats off to you, man, for finding solid people like that.
Yeah, it's definitely hard. And I feel great about everybody that we have now. We all have families. We all have kids. It's like we're all on the same page, really, in that stage of life that we're in, where we all can go hard at it for a little while longer, but we all want to kind of create a legacy for our families, for our kids. We want to be able to pass something off to them, but we also want to have the time to spend with our families. And at the end of the day, I think everybody is on board with time is the greatest, you know, it's greater than money. We can have money if we don't have time. Everybody wants time and you can't get it back. You only have so much of it. So we would love to build something that would give everybody some more freedom and some more time to have with their loved ones, really.
Yeah, that's the American dream, right?
Yeah, for
That's
sure.
it. Well, and coming from someone who claims he didn't have business education or background, you've made a pretty good run of this.
Yeah, so far so good, for sure. Still learning a lot. I mean, I think I have some really good qualities about me, but there's no doubt that it's a nice mixture of the owners we have. Like I can look at our owners and I'm like, this guy does a better job at this than I do, and this guy does a better job at this than I do. And man, I wish I could be more like him in certain ways. And it's like let's just bring us all together, you know. We all have really good skills, and we're all good people. So let's just use all that to benefit us.
Right. Yeah. Fantastic. Well, Dave, it's been great talking to you, and great learning about your business, and where you intend to take it, and the fun you've had so far, and some of your background. I just find it very intriguing. So I appreciate your time, and appreciate you being on the show.
You're welcome. Thanks for having me. Enjoyed it very much, and
Great.
look forward to doing it again, maybe one of these days.
Yeah, yeah. And I need to come to the Germantown location there, man. You're right down the street from where I'm at.
All right, I'll hang out for another hour. I'll be waiting on you.